Hi, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good day to all of you who are joining us for the Buddhist Church of San Francisco's weekly virtual Sangha service. I appreciate your efforts to stay connected, and this is how, as we're hearing the expression, we're going to get through this. So with that, we'll begin today's virtual Sangha service with the presentation of the kansho ringing, the calling bell. Following that, we'll have a brief moment of quiet sitting. And then for today's sutra chanting, I'll be chanting Juseige, the reaffirmation of the vows. And for those of you who have access to it, you could look up the BCSF website on which we have a copy of the BCA Buddhist service book that you're welcome to follow in along with the service chanting. And for today's Dharma message, we're having Reverend Elaine Donlin, one of our minister assistants here at the Buddhist Church of San Francisco, to present today's reflection. And then following that, I'll come back to lead a group recitation of our pledge, the verses composed by the present Gomonshu Kojun Ohtani. So with that, we'll now begin today's service. 仏説無量中教Juseige. From the Sutra of Immeasurable Life, the verses reaffirming the vow. Sangha May this merit virtue be shared equally with all beings. May we together awaken the Bodhi mind and be born in the realm of serenity and joy. Namo Amida Butsu, 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 Namo Amida, Namo Amida, Namo Amida, Namo Amida.
From Shinran's Koso Wasan, number 95. My eyes, being hindered by blind passions, cannot perceive the light that grasps me, yet great compassion without tiring illumines me always. Namo Amida Butsu, Namandos, 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 Namandos. Greetings. And thank you for joining us for this morning's Sangha Service. I keep hearing that these are unprecedented times. Everyone is saying it. The news anchors, the politicians, and even our spiritual leaders are calling these unprecedented times. Unprecedented means never done or known before. So given that this is what unprecedented means, isn't every moment of every hour of every day of our life unprecedented? Isn't that a fundamental teaching of Buddhism? The Reverend Tai Tietso Uno once wrote, "Our task in life is to discover that which is extraordinary in the most ordinary, mundane things. The object of our spiritual quest may be right here before us if we only have eyes to see it." So how do we cope with the all too human, oftentimes fragile and deeply challenging experiences brought on by COVID-19? How do we accept with grace and kindness and compassion the unfolding circumstances that we presently find ourselves in? How do we process our grief, whether it's over the loss of physically gathering together each week in the temple to hear and share the Dharma, or grief over the loss of the physical connection we were so used to experiencing within our circle of family and friends? Or maybe it's a searing grief over losing someone to this relentless disease and the added pain of not being able to physically be with them, to hold their hand. Maybe it's the grief of seeing the myriad forms of suffering that this disease has brought, like the passing of so many loved ones, the crushing weight of responsibility on all of our medical folks and the first responders and the essential workers that have been and continue to be directly impacted by COVID-19, or the suffering of those facing immediate hardship and trauma, like food insecurity and income insecurity, and all the racial and socioeconomic inequities intersecting. These are very real and painful losses that we cannot pretend do not exist, and nor should we. Yet how do we cope emotionally, psychologically, spiritually with all of the very real external challenges and difficulties affecting us? How do we walk this unfamiliar and often unsettling path with compassion, both for ourselves and for others? just as our teachings invite us to do. For me, I keep coming back to that word unprecedented. And I have to ask myself, can this pandemic, at the very least, provide the opportunity to appreciate our humanity? I'm reading a wonderfully powerful book right now. It's a fiction novel called The Overstory by Richard Powers. And there's a line in the book where a father has brought home a big box and his young son is beyond excited. And in describing the son, the line says, "He's a 7-year-old who knows that most of the world is a present to him." In our youth, we do think everything is for us or should be for us because everything revolves around us. But as we grow up, we hopefully transition from everything needs to be about me, everything and everyone needs to meet my wants, to everything has truly been given to me. I woke up this morning. That's the gift of life. I'm alive. I can breathe. And then I made a wonderfully strong, delicious cup of coffee. The labor it took to plant, to grow, to harvest, to package, to ship what ultimately became my morning cup of coffee is breathtaking when we stop to see it. And then I took this vastly interdependent cup of coffee into a corner of my living room where my home altar is set up. And I received the gift of a really practical yet remarkable 2,600-year-old teaching. And on top of my altar sits a myogo, the 6th character Nembutsu, which says Namo Amida Butsu, which means I take refuge in boundless compassion, supporting and sustaining me always, which itself is an 800-year gift from Shinran. My eyes being hindered by the blind passions of greed, anger, and delusion cannot perceive the all-penetrating light that grasps me, yet great compassion, without doubt, without tiring, illumines me always. Namo Amida Butsu. The object of our spiritual quest may be right here before us, if only we have eyes to see it. The teachings have always been about awareness. The word Buddha translates as the awakened one. It's an awareness of, an awakening to the universal truth of our profound interdependence and our very precious impermanence. Yet pre-COVID-19, did I walk in this truth? Did I consistently live this truth? And I'm not talking about intellectualizing this truth, but rather did my actions, did my speech, did my thoughts manifest our profound interdependence and precious impermanence? I am doing my part to stay home, sheltering in place, as my city and state have mandated. But also I stay home because of our interdependence and the responsibility that comes with our interdependence. I don't want to be the cause or catalyst for someone to receive this disease. I had to go into the store last week to buy some food and postal stamps, and everywhere I looked, I saw people in masks or with wearing coverings over their face. And I was wearing a face covering as well. At one time, I might have thought to myself, seeing someone wearing a mask pre-COVID-19, I might have unkindly thought, are you sick? Why are you out in public if you have to wear a mask? But a week ago, my thought at seeing all these people wearing their masks was, thank you. Thank you for wearing your mask. Thank you for easing my anxiousness around venturing out of my safe shelter. The object of our spiritual quest may be right here before us, if only we have the eyes to see it. The Buddhist path is about being authentic, open, and compassionate, It's about bringing wisdom and compassion into our life. And there are so many ways and beautiful practices to live the teachings. In our Shin tradition, becoming one with boundless wisdom and compassion, the heart of the Buddha is the Nembutsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo, I entrust myself. I accept Amida Butsu, the Bodhisattva's primal vow of boundless compassion. The Nembutsu is not conditioned on a crisis, but on every moment of our life. We don't need a pandemic to experience the infinite light unfolding in each of us. It's been said that things will not be the same after COVID-19. When shelter in place is incrementally lifted, we won't be shaking hands, and we'll continue to wear our face masks, and we'll continue to observe the practice of physical distancing in public for some time. Nothing will be the same. But nothing was the same before COVID-19. Did we notice that? Nothing was ever the same. Seasons were changing, and depending on where one lives, those changes were either blatant or subtle or somewhere in between. Were you noticing? And birth and death were happening. Were you really noticing? Nothing was ever the same. From the moment we took our very first breath, nothing has been the same. In our teaching, we call this impermanence. The wonderful Dharma teacher Thich Nhat Hanh says that it is not impermanence that makes us suffer. What makes us suffer is wanting things to be permanent when they are not. So when we can't control what's happening around us, take a breath and then challenge yourself to control the way you respond to what's happening. That's where we can discover our humanity. That's where we can awaken to our Buddha nature of loving kindness, compassion, appreciative joy, and equanimity. Can you see it? In these unprecedented times that are without beginning and without end, may we appreciate the immeasurable wisdom and compassion abounding every moment of every hour of every day. Do we have a fresh perspective to awaken to it? This current moment in our life is fraught with unknowns, with fear, with anxiety, with grief. For some, it's a collective grief of loss and unwanted changes. And for others, it's a very personal grief of loss and mourning. I hope we were able to step into this moment to share the sufferings, to share the gratitude, to share the joys, keeping our heart open and our minds receptive in accordance with life's realities. I'd like to share a prayer that we regularly recite together during every Metta gathering. It's called the Metta Karuna prayer, and it's adapted from Shantideva's 8th century The Way of the Bodhisattva. And a shortened version can be found on page 18 in our Purple Service book, which has been posted on our BCSF Facebook page. So there are two types of prayer, petitionary prayer and aspirational prayer. And I would maintain that we have aspirational prayer on the path of the Bodhisattva. The Metta, loving kindness, Karuna, compassion prayer. Entrusting in great compassion, may the foolishness of self be shed, transforming me into a conduit of loving kindness. May I be a medicine for the sick and weary, nursing their afflictions until they are healed. May I become food and drink during time of famine. May I protect the helpless and the poor. May I be a bed for those who need rest. May I be a lamp for those who need the light of Buddha Dharma. May all find happiness through my actions and let no one suffer because of me, whether they love or hate me, whether they hurt or wrong me. May all experience true and trusting and boundless compassion and realize the pure land of bliss. Namandos, 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 namandos. The historical Buddhist Siddhartha Gautama very wisely observed that whatever has the nature of arising has the nature of ceasing. And this has been shown to be true whether it's on a micro level or a macro level. We know that shelter in place will come to an end. We just don't know exactly when. So in the meantime, let us continue to take care of each other. Reach out and stay socially connected while practicing physical distancing. Be safe and stay healthy. Thank you for joining in today's service. Namandos, 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 namandos.
Okay, so on behalf of our virtual Sangha, I would like to thank Reverend Donlin for her Dharma reflection for today's Sangha service. The group reading or the recitation that I would like to offer is to follow our pledge, which was composed by our current Gomonshu Kojun Ohtani. And so I'll begin with the original Japanese composition and follow it with what's been presented to us as the English translation. So if we could pause and gassho. Watachi tachi no chikai. Jibun no kara ni toji komoru koto naku, odayaka na kao to yasashi kotoba o taisetsu ni shimasu. Hoho mi katari kakeru hotoke sama no yoni. Hitotsu, musabori, ikari, orokasa ni nagarasezu, shinayaka na kokoro to furumae o kokoro gakemasu. Kokoro yasuraka na hotoke sama no yoni. Hitotsu, 自分だけを大事にすることなく、人と喜びや悲しみを分かち合います。慈悲に満ちた仏様のように、一つ、生かされていることに気づき、日々に精一杯努めます。人々の救いを尽くす仏様のように。Our pledge, breaking out of my shell, I will share a warm smile and speak gentle words, just like the kind Buddha. Not becoming lost in my greed, anger, and ignorance, I shall think and act with an open mind, just like the calm and peaceful Buddha. Not putting myself first, I shall share in the joy and sadness of others, just like the compassionate Buddha. Realizing the gift of life I have received, I shall strive to live each day to its fullest, like the Buddha who tirelessly works to liberate all. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo. Okay, so with that, we'll conclude this week's virtual Sangha service. So once again, I would like to acknowledge and express my personal appreciation for our production team of Kevin Yoza and Keith Kojimoto, and to also acknowledge Aina Tao, who very thoughtfully shares things online with our Sangha that offer ways of coming to terms, ways of being alive within this current situation of sheltering in place. So to maintain a sense of the aliveness within us, even though we may be physically somewhat restricted, but our hearts and minds can continue to be mindful and thereby vibrant and alive as we are together in place of Nembutsu. Okay, so some of the announcements I'd like to offer for today are a reminder that we are trying to start up a book club. On Tuesday afternoons at 2 p.m., you're invited to join a few of us who are going through this book called Why Buddhism is True by Mr. Robert Wright. And so if you're interested, you could either email or call the office to let Keith Kojimoto know if you'd like to participate, and he'll send you the information about how to connect online with that group. And reminders that Wednesday evenings from 6:30, our Minister Assistant Leo Joslin continues to offer and lead the mindfulness meditation program. And so again, if you're interested, you're welcome to contact the office, or if you know Leo, you can contact him directly to let him know of your interest to participate in that weekly activity. And for those of you who may be interested, we've been invited to participate in a virtual cherry blossom festival. And so Buddhist Church of San Francisco specifically has been invited to share a video expressing our support for getting through this as a community. And so the virtual online Cherry Blossom Festival can be accessed, I guess, probably by YouTube. But anyway, if you want to look around for it, if we get that information, we'll definitely try to put that out for your ability to access that special presentation. In closing, I'm very happy to be able to introduce Ms. Kay Nakazawa, who has shared with us a musical presentation, a recital from her graduate program at the San Francisco Conservatory of Music. And so last fall, she was part of a quartet that included pianist Xinyi Li, and on violin, Yukun Jiang, and on cello, Mr. Chiyuan Ma, along with Kay Nakazawa on violin. And this quartet is performing Mozart's Piano Quartet number 2, movements 1 and 2. So for our musical meditation for this week, I'm happy to be able to introduce this special presentation to conclude our weekly Sangha gathering. So with that, our best wishes and encouragement that we continue to be mindful as we shelter in place. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu.